at Tri-Tool Technologies. We're going to go over one of our custom applications that we have built here for a customer. This is a 301 semi-automatic facing machine. So the capabilities of this machine is you can go from a diameter of 1/8 of an inch all the way up to 1 inch 100 and all the way up to a 125 wall on stainless materials and other exotic materials for tube facing. Okay, we have a control box here. It can be ran 110 or 220. It only takes 6 amps to run it. We have a power selector on the side for safety. Once we power up the unit, you'll notice it has a small screen on here with controls and what it's operating at. The first thing that comes up is a homing flashing light that's required to push this homing button to start our machining operations. Once you got your machine at the homing device, it will show up on the screen that the spindle's at home in green. It locates the head at the home position, so when you put in your tube, you can't get it up underneath the tool bit. The next thing we'll talk about is that you can check your selection of your diameter of pipe. Right now this has 8 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2. If we were to touch these on there, what it will do is it'll pull up 10 programs that a supervisor can write a certain program for feed and speed on materials, but the operator can't go in there and unlock it unless he has a passcode. So another option that you can use on here is when you're setting your tool bit in place. If you want a particular spot on the tool bit face, it has a jog button, and when you're hitting that, it can jog the head around to get it in different locations so you can see your cutting edge. The next thing that's going to come up on this control panel is for safety purposes. When your shield or guard is down and then you lift it up, it will not operate, and a light will come on, and also on the screen the light comes on. So we have our start operation, which is semi-automatic. It'll clamp, it'll spin the head, pull back 50 thousandths, and then move into the cut axially until your cut's done, and then pull back. So you can operate that start and stop function at the control box, or a duplicate, which the operator mostly will be using, is up here on top of the unit itself. So the operation of the machine, as we spoke of before, when our guard's down, now we're all good. The control box will work. All our safety lights are on. You take your tube sample, going into your saddle. As soon as you touch the tool bit, you can push the start button. It will clamp, auto rotate, auto feed. Once it's done with the cut, it retracts and unclamps. So now you have your square end of your tube, and you could go to the next size. A couple things to mention with this too is you do have the emergency stop if it's in the middle of a cycle up here at the controls. It also has an airflow tube right here to help blow the chips away, and it also can provide some cooling for the material on the tool bit. So this is an auto clamping, auto rotation, auto feed that's adjustable up to parameters. The saddles, if you needed to change size, you just have to release the top. You pull out that saddle, and then you'll unclamp and pull out the bottom one. So to change out our collets, we have this knob on the top. We want to remove the top one, put it to the side. On the screen, there's a collet change button on the top right-hand corner. You'll hit that. Remove the bottom one. You'll select your new size of collets. You hit the collet change button again. You would put the new one in. And then put your top one in and put your screw back in. So now we can discuss a little bit on our tool bit options. Mainly we'll be using a Durabit 1 tool bit that is coated. But depending on material grades, you start getting in some exotic materials. Tri-Tool has other tool bits grades available for those exotic materials. So now back to the control box, we're going to talk about those other settings that we spoke of earlier. We can come in here to adjust settings. It pulls you to a screen where you can put in a password. Once the password's in, this screen's going to come up and you'll have your material settings. You pick your size. We have now written down tests, but I also added like this 304. This is where you could change materials just by touching that. You add what materials if you're doing 316, push enter. Now you have your surface feeds. You can change that. And then last, your feed rate. So with the feed rates, important, if you were getting a burr, you could actually clear this. And if I wanted to change it, I can put a feed rate of 5 thousandths per revolution. So the next thing to talk about with the screen is the tool settings. If you touch that tool settings, it'll have your home position, your feeding distance, how much it retracts, all those things. The biggest one that will be used is how much you want to remove off the end of the tube once your tool bit comes in contact with. So feed distance, if we hit that, right now it's set at 12 thousandths. And if we wanted to change that and remove 15 thousandths, then we can just enter it, and that's what it is. The good thing with that is if you notice it's not cleaning all the way up from a saw cut, you can just make it a larger number. The last thing on this screen would be password settings, where you can just hit a screen, you can put your username, ID, and have a password to be able to get to that screen to adjust all those parameters. So now we went over the operation of the control box and the machine. We're going to run some of these tube samples. That is 1/4 inch 035 wall and some stainlesses 304 and 316. It's as simple as placing your tube in, you run it up against the tool bit, hit the cycle start, machine turns on, cuts, stops, and that's a square in with no burr. We'll go ahead and keep doing some of these. Cycle time.